Hello everyone, welcome to Mistakes Were Made. Today we are going to be doing our budget with me for the first pay period of September. So that is going to cover the 1st through the 15th. Now this month is probably the second most important month that we have had throughout this process. The first one, of course, being the month that we actually started to get our heads out of our butts and do what we needed to do. Some might argue that March would have been one of the more important ones because that is when we had that very, very unexpectedly big tax refund, which kind of got us started. So maybe we'll say it's a tie, but I feel that September is going to be very huge for us. We will get into the details on why I feel that way in just a bit. Let's actually get started and fill out our sheet here. So we're going to be doing September 1st through 15th. And for Mr. M's pay, we are using the newly assessed minimum pay amount that we came up with. Previously, it was $1,900 because we had not received any pay lower than that because his pay has been fairly variable. But then just recently, there was one under $1,900, so we have dropped that minimum down to $1,875. Now, the reason why we are doing actual minimum amounts rather than what the true amount is because it is Tuesday the 27th, so we have not actually completed the second pay period of August. Those numbers have not yet been finalized, and both his paycheck and my paycheck are actually landing on the same day, which is going to be the 30th of this month, and we don't know what those amounts are. The checks haven't shown up, not even as a pending amount. So we're going to use these kind of placeholder amounts that we've come up with to do our budgeting. So miscellaneous income, there is none to be expected. Etsy, we do not budget that out because who knows whether we'll have any income coming in. It has been very hit or miss, especially in the last couple of months. Now for the buffer rollover, as I said, we have not actually completed and closed out the last pay period, but we are pretty close to the end, and we are at a point where, on our spreadsheet, everything on paper, we kind of know where we think the future is going to go. If there's nothing unexpected that comes through, then we know where we're going to land. That said, there are still 4 more days for something unexpected to happen, so we kind of have to be flexible. At the same time, we do have an amount in our spreadsheet, and that's what we're going to use. And that amount is $200.91. So we're going to get our trusty calculator here and add $1,875 plus $2,225 plus the $200.91. That gives us a total of $4,391 for our expected income for this pay period. Now, nothing terribly unexpected here. However, I always want to make sure that I don't X out the wrong sections. Okay. However, there are a couple of things. So we have $875, which is our standard mortgage amount. We've got $15.49 for Netflix. Kindle Unlimited is $11.99. Now, these numbers basically don't change. We have had some rate increases that have affected things. And of course, if you're doing a utility, they're going to adjust depending on usage. but these have been fairly static. So if you are new to the channel, welcome. I am very pleased to have you here. And of course, if you've been following along, these numbers are going to look pretty similar. And I'll be honest, I think I far more prefer to have a known entity than a lot of chaos in the budget. So I am not going to lament the fact that a lot of the time these numbers don't change very much. That said, for my car insurance, it did go up. This is the second month where we are working under the higher amount. So it's at $129.25. We are going to still use our $125 kind of guesstimate amount for the water bill. Last month, we were off by about $15. It was $15 more, but that is because we ended up spending or using quite a bit of water because it was so hot in July. I don't feel like in August we used quite as much, so we'll obviously see. I could bump this up just on the thought that there may be some overusage, but I figure I'm lazy and it's just as easy to keep to our 125. We do have a plan that we'll want to look at some point back about 4 months and see what that average usage cost ends up being, since we did have not only the change to this being a monthly cost instead of an every other month cost, but also there was a rate hike in July. So this $125, is just a kind of a stopgap. We can't, make any changes just yet because we don't have 4 months worth of these new rates to look at. So that'll be coming up soon. Mr. M's car insurance, I mentioned it in a different video. It has gone up, and this is the first month that we will be paying that higher rate. So here we go. We got $875. Make sure you can see. Plus $15.49 plus $11.99 plus $129.25 plus $125 plus $255.75. And you know what? I'm going to do that again just because for some reason I feel like I got the 129 and 125 wrong. I might not have, but better safe than sorry. Anyway, where am I? My brain has just fallen apart. 129.25. There we go. Wow. That silence was a silent but deadly brain fart. Goodness gracious. 255.75. I still feel like that looks weird, but 1412.48 is what we're looking at. All right, so we're going to take that 1412.48 and subtract it from our total income, $4,391, which leaves us with $2,888.43 of income left. Now, we do not put any money towards the emergency fund during this pay period. We're going to skip the extra savings until after we fill this all out and do our fun stuff, our fun calculations. We will put a basic $200. We're leaving the cents blank because, again, we'll fill that out a little bit more later. So all we're looking at right now is $200. We'll subtract that, some nice easy math, from our total income, and we are left with $2,688.43 for our income. Now, another area that does not change very often, though to be fair, we do have at least one change that we'll be discussing, are our cash envelopes. Again, we don't have a lot of ups and downs and changes as far as how much we're putting into our cash envelopes. We don't tend to change the categories very often. I like things to be known. I am not at all fond of surprises. So the fact that this process tends to stay pretty steady is something that I very much can appreciate. There's probably going to be a time of some upheaval and some change coming. And, we'll make do and we'll make adjustments as we need to. But for right now, things are pretty steady. So we are not doing AAA. We are not doing birthdays this month, or this pay period. For car maintenance, we have $100. For Christmas, we have $12. We do not do anything for clothing. Dining out gets $50, as does entertainment. Again, if you are new, we only fund this once in a month, and that is during the first pay period. So this $100 is expected to last us the entirety of the month. We do have some of these items that we fund just in the first pay period, some that we fund just in the second pay period, and some that we fund during both pay periods. And we also have some that are not like the dining out and entertainment, where it's supposed to last the entire month. Instead, they are supposed to last just during the pay period they were funded. One of those is the gas. This one gets funded each pay period, and if there's any money left over at the end of the month or at the end of the pay period, that becomes like up for grabs money that we can use either to go towards a savings challenge, to bulk. We could, if we wanted to, bulk up some of these other categories, or just deposit it into the account so it can go towards saving in debt. Excuse me. We do not do gifts, but we do $5 for giving. Groceries is $200. It's $100 per week. And if you watch my last video, we did talk a little bit about the USDA food budget, and they have 4 different budget levels. And I find it very interesting that for Mr. M and myself, if you look at the chart and determine how much we should be spending per week at the most thrifty of their budgets, we are under that by, I want to say it was like $30 or something dollars. So, I find that just kind of interesting. And it is something that we have talked about, whether we want to bulk that up. At the very least, we want to wait until we have more of our debt out the door. Okay, we've got $25 for household licenses. This is the first one that we have made an adjustment for. We were before doing $15 per pay period or $30 per month. We are now backing that off to $11 per pay period or $22 per month, simply because we have a good amount in our envelope, and the costs that we are expecting to incur are fairly minimal at this time, and we will very easily meet and probably exceed the amount needed even at this level. Pets does not get anything this pay period, neither does Prime. Taxes, these have stayed the same. It is one that we looked at maybe bumping up, but I think any change that we do to this one will have to wait, until we're reassessing things again later. All right, so where are we? We're right here. We have 100 plus 12 plus 50 plus 50 plus 25 plus 100 plus 5 plus 200 plus 10 plus 25 plus 11 plus 20 is 608. So we'll just take that and we will subtract our remaining budget here, 2688, what is that, 43, which leaves us with $2,000, you can't see that, $2,080.43. All right, now we're getting over to debt. We're ignoring this. Discover does not get paid during this pay period, but Reflect does. We are doing the first of 2 payments. The total that we are putting towards the Reflect debt is $976 for the month. That is being broken out between the 2 pay periods. For my new folks, that number is the result of our using a modified snowball method for our debt process, and we have paid things off and been able to build that payment amount up for our main debt focus. So 976, it took us a little while to get to a point where we had, that big of a chunk, but that's how we are handling it. The extra debt payment, we'll figure that all out later. So for now, we are at $488. And we will just take this, since this is a negative, we'll just add the 488. So that reduces this down to $1,592.43. I get a guilt-free spending amount of $30 each pay period. And so we'll just add our 30 to that too, and that brings us to $1,562.43. And then last but not least, we are focusing on the yard cleanup goal, which gets $100 each pay period. So we will note that 100 right here, and that will leave us with $1,462.43. Fantastic. All right, so here we're going to do our triage of our leftover income. Now, before we get started with this, why is September such an important month for us? First of all, and I know this probably sounds weird because I feel like I say it all the time, but there just seems to be something a little bit different about the atmosphere at work right now. I am going to be working through September, thank goodness, but I haven't heard the normal rumblings of, oh, okay, well, yeah, we're expecting to have, the status quo for October, which I normally have heard in the past. Additionally, I did have to let 3 of my employees know that they would be getting laid off effective the 2nd of September. Unfortunately, the volume of work that we have available is not even close to being enough to keep people busy for an 8-hour shift. And I think that's playing into a lot of the decisions that have been made, as well as the feelings of, are we truly going to be following the same pattern and working in October or not? So it feels just a little bit different. That said, my radar has not been great where this situation is concerned, because I didn't think we were going to be working anything beyond December at the latest. And quite frankly, I didn't think we were going to even make it to December when this all first started. And yet, here we are. So, my sensitivities to the whispers of the universe could certainly be misinterpreting things. But I will say the workload has diminished significantly in the last few months. The leadership has wanted to keep people with specific skills and experience and knowledge in place, but if we're looking at the situation objectively, there is not enough work currently for all of my people to be even moderately busy for the entirety of their shift. And so it would not surprise me if there were changes that were going to be made. Now, there are a plethora of options that could happen. These are the same options that have all been available. They could say, hey, you guys have done a wonderful job. We really appreciate everything you've been able to accomplish. The workload that does come in that needs your specific experience and knowledge is just no longer at a place where it makes sense to keep the department up and running. Anything new that comes in, we will just figure out an alternative way to handle them. Thank you very much. Your last day is October 3rd or 1st or whatever it happens to be. So they could just close the department down completely. They could come back and say, all right, as the manager, I need you to tell me who are your top 2 people, because we are only able to keep 2 people to do what work is available. And the rest would go on to a layoff. Obviously, for my personal situation, that would be a good situation work-wise, because I would still then be working in October. I'd feel incredibly terrible for my folks, even though we all know that this is the end of the line and the ultimate experience is going to be the layoff. I would still feel very bad. And I would not relish having to make that decision of, okay, who is truly going to be the best to fit for what we need to do. They could say, you know what, we just do not have the volume to continue staffing our hourly people. So for this department, and if they did it for ours, they would probably do it for all of the ones that are left. And I say all, but there's not like a ton. And it would just be people who are in leadership roles staying, supervisor and up. Again, from a financial situation, that would be beneficial for me, but it would also be kind of a pain in the butt and probably fairly stressful if all of the responsibility of getting whatever comes through done was on solely my shoulders. So not necessarily an option that would be super thrilled with, but it is what it is. They could go and say, you know what, we had a line in the sand that we were looking at. We have crossed that line, or there was a dollar amount for whatever calculation we were trying to do that they were looking to meet. We have met that. And because that has been accomplished, we are going to let the remainder of the company's employees go, and any other handling that needs to be done, we'll bring in a third party to do it, pennies on the dollar, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And thus, that would be essentially the end for everybody. They could go that route. And then, of course, they could do what they have been doing so far, barring the fact that I did lose 3 people, and just have the status quo, and whoever's still employed continues to be employed through October, and a reassessment will happen in November. So lots of options that could happen, multiple that would be beneficial for me. We'll just have to wait and see. But like I said, I don't know, the things are getting kind of crunchy and they're, contracting quite a bit. So it just feels like there's more of an opportunity for us to have the notification that our last day would be October 1st. I don't know. So how does that play into why September is so important? And that is because we are working through September. So that is giving us just that one more month at least to bulk up our savings and to pay down our debt. And if everything plays out as we're seeing, and we're creating our budgets now, but I still have my spreadsheet and I've got that sucker looking out into June of 2025. But if all goes as planned, we will absolutely be paying Reflect off, our Reflect card up here off, by the end of this month. I would love to say by the end of this pay period, but that's just not going to be feasible. But it is going to be such a big and helpful milestone to meet, because that means we would only have one credit card debt left. And that credit card debt has come down under $10,000. So the full bore of our debt allotment that is in our budget, which is $1,226, will then, going forward, be going towards Discover. So September is very important. I want everything to work out so that we're not having to go into October and still do a little bit of a payment before we can start working on Discover. The other thing is assuming everything goes the way it needs to, then we will start looking very seriously at whether it makes sense for us to seek out a 0% promo so that we are not battling interest any longer with that Discover debt. But that is a discussion for another time. So yeah, I'm obviously, for me, the better option would be me being able to work as long as possible. Based on my spreadsheet, and of course, life running in a perfect world, in a perfect universe, there is a possibility of being able to pay off Discover by the end of December, as long as I'm still working at this particular job. So, I got an owie there. I don't know. I really don't think that that's going to be feasible, that that's going to be where things land. I would be incredibly shocked if they kept us on that long, not just because the work volumes are a little iffy, but also because I know that there's some court stuff and things that will probably start getting mandated soon, and they could very well affect, our work situation. So let's get back to the fun stuff. I mean, it is fun to speculate. Could we be credit card debt free by the end of this year? That would be absolutely amazing. I would love to say that that would mean we were completely debt free, but we would not be. We do have Mr. M's car. We do have the mortgage. So there's still some costs out there, but getting the credit card debt completely cleared out opens a big opportunity in our budget to kind of make some decisions on what we would want to do with the $1,226 that we currently have budgeted out for debt repayment. Again, conversation for another day. All right, so we've got $1,462.43 as our leftover income. We are going to do our typical process of spreading that out between debt and savings. So we do 75% to debt because that is where our main focus is right now. But we have retained 25% to go to savings because we are still bulking up the cushion that we have created to help cover my loss of income when the job does finally go, when I finally do get laid off, for the time period it takes me to find a new job. And as y'all know, I'm kind of iffy on what the heck I want that new job situation to look like. I'm really not loving the idea of getting back into a corporate 9-to-5 rut. The problem is I don't know what else I would do. I don't have any special skills, so it would be very, very easy for me to just find something that is maybe not very fulfilling, but steady, and just kind of getting back to where I was before. You can tell I'm not loving that idea, but I still do need to pay my bills. So, my wants and wishes will only go so far as well. But so anyway, we are going to take this amount, we're going to subtract 75%, which gives us $365. That would go to savings. So then we'll go back and we have our 1462 again, 43, and we'll subtract the 365, which leaves us with $1,097 for debt. We do not put the change on either of these. That gets tacked on to our buffer amount. So it's now going to be $200.43. We also have the savings amount, $365. So we'll fill that in. Now, even though we're really trying to get the reflect card down, we are not going to deviate from our processes. We are going to still use the $25, $50, $75, and 00 rule for payments that are being made to reflect, and anything that is left over ends up going to Discover. So with this amount of $1,097, the closest is going to be this 75. So we would move 1,075. That would get paid towards the reflect card, and that would also mean there would then be $22 left for Discover. So let's do a quick fill in over here. So 1,097 would be the total amount, and then we would expect 22 to Discover and 1,075 to reflect. Now, of course, anytime I'm close to a nice, lovely round number like $1,100 in this case, I am going to be incredibly hopeful that we have something that boosts our income so that it can meet whatever adjustments up, or can meet whatever level up here would be required to pump this up to at least $1,100 so that we can put another $25 towards reflect. If it goes up a little bit more so that there's still a little bit for Discover, all the better. So our main opportunities for that typically are Etsy. That has, like I said, has been kind of abysmal. We had some really, some nothing, and then a bounce back with some decent amounts, and then, it's been kind of the last couple of weeks. Again, we are budgeting at a low end, so Mr. M's paycheck could be higher and hopefully will be higher. It'd be great if it'd be at least $1,900, if not more, so that we could see a boost from that. I am contemplating trying to reduce or not use my allowance amount at all as well. I'm not making that an official mandate because if I feel I need to or want to spend the money on something, I don't want to feel guilty about it. So that's an opportunity. Whether I take it or not, we'll have to just kind of wait and see. But either way, with this $1,075 plus the $488 plus some mysterious amounts that may be applying at the end of August, this still puts us very much on track to paying the Reflect card off 100%. By the end of September. So that is fantastic. And if we're lucky, we may be able to pay off Reflect and still have a little bit of debt payment amount left, so Discover could get a little bit of an extra boost if all goes well. Okay, that is it. That is our budget with me for the first pay period of September, the 1st through the 15th. I appreciate you taking the time to watch, listen to me, babble on like I do. As always, if you have any suggestions, ideas, thoughts, want to say hi, please note those down below. I very, very much appreciate everybody that interacts with the channel. We have made it to, I want to say it's 885 subscribers, which is awesome. I am looking forward to us hitting 1,000 because I do intend to monetize the channel, not because I want this to become a job and to become some, YouTube guru, because that's not me, but I am very curious about the process and how that all looks from the other side. Plus, any additional income is always going to be, welcome, especially in the situation that we are in. So those are some future hopes and plans. We'll just see how things go. And on that note, again, thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next one.